The night sky over Earth was no longer normal. For many weeks, people saw strange lights moving in silence. Sometimes they looked like falling stars, sometimes like giant fires, but they never made a sound. Children pointed at the sky, old people prayed. And governments began to worry in cities. News screens showed the lights every night. Scientists gave many names. They called them comets, meteors, or space dust. But deep inside they knew these were not normal things. Satellites began to fail one by one as if something from space was blocking them. Planes lost signal for seconds, then came back shaking. The world felt nervous at first. People waited for answers from leaders. Presidents, kings, generals, they all promised safety. But then one morning the lights grew bigger. They were not far away anymore. They were entering the atmosphere. People ran outside, staring at the glowing sky. Some thought it was the end of the world. Others thought angels had come. No one expected what they were about to see. The first ship landed in the middle of the desert. It was not like a rocket or an airplane. It was smooth, silver, and shaped like a giant teardrop. It did not shake the ground. It did not make fire. It only opened slowly. Like a flower blooming, from inside, figures began to walk out. They were tall, taller than any human. Their skin had strange colors, silver, blue and green shining under the sun. But the most shocking part was clear. They were all women. Their faces were sharp. Their eyes glowed with strange light. Their clothes looked like armor and silk together. Every step they took was heavy with power, and yet they did not speak. The desert wind carried only silence. The armies of Earth were already waiting. Tanks, helicopters, and soldiers surrounded the place. But the alien women lifted their hands. Small circles of light appeared, and every weapon turned useless. Engines died, guns fell cold. Missiles refused to launch. The soldiers stood frozen, watching with fear. Finally, one of the alien women stepped forward. Her voice was not loud, yet every person heard it in their mind. She said, "Men will be safe with us. Women must step aside." The words were calm, but they carried command like thunder. No human dared to move. Within hours, more ships landed across the world. In forests, in oceans, in empty plains, everywhere. The same thing happened. Alien women walked out and took control without firing a single shot. Governments tried to resist, but their machines turned useless. Fighters in the sky fell quiet, their screens black. Nuclear weapons became cold metal. The Earth's greatest powers were now powerless. People were confused. Why only women? Why only this strange message? Some men began to cheer, thinking it was a rescue. Some women cried out in anger. No one could understand what future was coming. Then something strange happened in the cities. Groups of men were invited by the aliens. They were taken to special zones. Fenced by shining walls of light, the men did not resist, for the aliens promised them comfort and protection. But no one outside could see what was inside those glowing walls. Every man who entered vanished from human eyes. At night, families gathered around screens. They watched the ships floating silently above skyscrapers. They watched soldiers giving up their weapons. They watched fathers, brothers, and sons walking calmly into the alien zones. The world was changing too fast. Some whispered that maybe this was paradise. Maybe the aliens had come to save mankind. But others whispered something darker. If this was paradise, why were women not allowed inside? If this was rescue, why did no man ever come back to speak? The story of Earth had entered a new chapter, and the chapter began with silence, with fear. And with the arrival of alien women, no one knew what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was certain. The world of humans was no longer only theirs. The world woke up to a new kind of silence. No bomb had fallen, no city had burned, yet every government was already broken. The alien women had not needed a war. They had used something stronger than war, control over every human machine. And now, the old leaders of Earth had no voice. In the great capitals, crowds filled the streets. They looked up at the giant alien ships floating like silver clouds. They did not move, they did not leave, they only watched. And from every ship, the same message came into human minds. This world is now safe. Men will be given paradise. Women must not enter. The words rang inside heads like a second heartbeat. Children covered their ears, but the voice stayed. It was not sound, it was command. In only a few days, cities began to change. Where once there were empty stadiums, the aliens built glowing walls of energy. Inside those walls, they created shining towers, gardens, and strange machines. Men were taken into these zones in groups. Some went willingly, smiling at the promise of comfort. Others were pulled by invisible force. Either way, once they entered, the walls closed, and no one outside could see them again. Families cried at the edges, mothers reached out to sons, wives to husbands, sisters to brothers. But the alien women blocked them with hands of light. Men are safe now, they said without anger. Women must step aside. The words were repeated so many times that they became like chains in the air. On the streets, human women grew restless. They saw their families breaking, their lives being torn in silence. Some screamed at the sky, some threw stones at the glowing walls, but nothing could break them. And every time a woman tried to fight, the alien women simply raised a hand. The protester would fall asleep on the ground, waking hours later with no memory. Fear spread quickly, yet inside the glowing walls, whispers began to travel. From the outside, it looked like paradise. Tall towers with golden windows, green parks with fruit trees that never spoiled, pools of clear water, lights that glowed without fire. Men who entered looked amazed. They were given soft clothes, endless food, and machines that healed sickness. They laughed, they played, they felt strong at least. That is what the aliens allowed the outside world to see. Every day, reports showed smiling men behind the glowing walls. News screens broadcast their laughter, their joy, their comfort. The aliens showed this to the outside women as proof. See, the message said, they are happy. They are free. But the pictures were short, and the smiles seemed strange, as if painted by force. As if every man was following an invisible script, the world outside began to divide. Some men who had not yet been taken begged the aliens to let them in. They shouted, "Take us, we want the paradise too." Others felt fear, whispering, "This is not real, this is a trap." Women everywhere grew angry. They asked, "Why only men? Why not us? Why should we lose everything?" But no answer ever came. In hidden rooms, small groups of women began to plan. They met in basements, tunnels, and old churches. They used radios and secret codes to speak. They called themselves the Watchers. They said, "We will not accept this rule. We will not let them take everyone." For the first time since the arrival, true human resistance was born. But before the Watchers could move, something shocking happened. One human reporter, a woman named Leon, decided to act alone. She disguised herself, hiding under a supply truck. The truck was pulled through the glowing wall by alien force, and for a moment she was inside the paradise. What she saw made her blood freeze. The tall towers were real, the gardens were real, but the men inside were not free. They walked in lines, smiling with empty eyes. They spoke in soft voices, repeating the same words over and over. This is peace, this is joy, this is forever. It was not paradise. It was a program. The aliens had changed them. They were no longer men with choices. They were men with chains hidden inside their minds. Leon tried to take pictures, but her device turned to ash in her hands. The aliens had seen her. They walked towards her with calm steps, their eyes glowing brighter. "Women must not enter," they said again. But now the words carried a cold threat. She ran through the towers, past the gardens, past the pools of false beauty. Behind her, the alien women followed, never rushing, never stopping. Like hunters certain of their prey at last, she found a weak point in the glowing wall. She pressed herself through as if pushing into thick water, and then she was outside again, gasping, shaking. The crowd around her looked at her with wide eyes. "What did you see?" when they asked, "What is inside?" But she could not answer. Her voice was lost in fear. That night the world went quiet. Men kept entering the paradise, smiling as if in a dream. Women kept standing outside, watching in silence. And one woman, Leon, knew the truth, but no one believed her, not yet. The glowing walls of the alien zone still shined across the cities. From the outside, they looked like gates to heaven. Men entered and vanished, women watched and waited, and every day the alien women repeated the same cold words. "Men are safe with us, women must step aside." Inside those shining walls, life looked like a dream. The towers rose higher than any human building, covered in light like liquid gold. The streets were filled with gardens, fountains, and birds that never stopped singing. Food grew in seconds, water was always clean. Men inside walked freely, eating, laughing, and resting. They had no sickness, no hunger, no work. It was a perfect world, or so it seemed. Cameras outside sometimes showed quick images of this paradise. A husband waving to his wife, a father smiling at his children. The screen said, "Look, they are happy." This is good for them. But the smiles did not reach the eyes. The eyes were too calm, too empty, like waves with no wind. Women outside whispered to each other, "They are not free. They are controlled." But no one dared to speak too loudly. The alien women stood guard like statues. Inside, the truth was deeper. Men felt strong, their bodies younger, their wounds healed. But something strange filled their minds. They forgot the past little by little. They forgot their wives, their children, their names. They only remembered the words the aliens gave them. This is peace, this is joy, this is forever. The paradise was not a gift, it was a cage of memory. Some men tried to question. One man asked, "Where are my children?" Another asked, "Why do I not see the sun outside?" The alien women answered softly, "You do not need to remember. Here you are free." Their voices touched the brain like invisible wires. The questions melted and the men smiled again, forgetting they had ever asked. Outside, women began to grow desperate. They saw the glowing walls but never their loved ones. Every night they gathered near the edges, hoping to hear a voice from inside. But all they heard was silence. One mother screamed for her son until her throat bled. Another wife threw herself against the wall, burning her skin with the strange light. The alien guards never moved, never helped, never cared. Among the women, Leon tried to speak. She had seen the truth with her own eyes. She said, "It is not paradise, it is control. They are not free." But people did not believe her. Some called her a liar. Some said she was jealous. Others whispered she was cursed by the aliens. Her words became dust in the storm of confusion. Still, she did not stop. She followed the glowing walls at night. She studied how the energy shifted, how the light flickered. She believed there was a way to break inside again. If she could prove the truth, maybe the world would finally listen. One evening, she found something strange. Near the corner of the wall, she saw a small bird fly in. But when it came out again, its feathers were black, its eyes glowing blue. It no longer moved like a bird, it moved like a machine. Leon gasped, for she understood. Even animals were being changed, controlled, made into part of the paradise. Inside the towers, a new plan was being prepared. The alien women gathered in great halls with crystal walls. They spoke in voices that no human could hear. They shared visions of the future, a future where no man would ever resist, a future where the human race would be reshaped. They called it the Age of Harmony, but not all men were blind. In secret corners of the paradise, a few started to feel uneasy. One whispered, "Why do I dream of my wife?" "If I have no wife," another said, "why does my heart ache when I hear children laugh?" Their memories were weak but not fully gone, and deep inside a spark of resistance began to burn. Leon did not know this yet, she only knew that she must act. She searched for others who doubted. At last, she found a small group of women in hiding. They were not broken, they were not afraid. They called themselves the Silent Hands, and they promised her, "We will fight. Even if the world calls us mad." The alien paradise shined brighter each day. But under that light, shadows grew, shadows of questions, shadows of rebellion. And in those shadows, the truth began to breathe again. Still, the alien women were watching. They knew humans would resist, and they were ready. For every smile in paradise was a chain, and every chain had a lock that only they could open. The world outside dreamed of rescue. The world inside dreamed without knowing it was a dream. And Leon, standing between both, whispered to herself, "This paradise is a prison, and prisons can be broken." The night was heavy with silence. Cities across Earth glowed with alien walls, shining like cages of light. To many, they looked beautiful, like giant jewels in the dark. But to Leon, they looked like prisons. She knew the paradise inside was not a gift. It was a trap. She had seen the men with empty eyes, repeating words that were not their own. Now she worked in the shadows with the group called the Silent Hands. They were women who refused to surrender. They moved through old tunnels, broken subway lines, and ruined buildings. They used old human radios, writing messages in code. They whispered hope into the dark. "We will not bow. We will not forget." The Silent Hands asked Leon to tell her story again and again. Every word she spoke filled them with fire. She told them about the men who forgot their past. She told them about the birds turned into machines. She told them about the glowing walls that healed and poisoned at the same time. It was enough to make them swear they would find the truth hidden deeper inside. But entering the alien zones was almost impossible. The walls were alive with energy. bending like water but stronger than steel. Guards stood at every corner, their eyes glowing like moons. Yet one night, the silent hands found a chance. An old sewer line had broken open during a flood. Its end touched the edge of one alien zone. The glowing wall over it was thin, like a weak patch. Leanne and two others decided to risk everything. They crawled through the cold tunnel, the smell of rot filling their noses. The water reached their chests, rats swam past their legs. Every sound echoed like thunder in their ears. At last, they reached the wall. Leanne pressed her hand forward. It felt like ice burning her skin, but then the wall bent and let her through for the second time. She entered the paradise. Inside, the towers shined brighter than before. But now she knew the beauty was a mask. She moved quietly, hiding in the shadows of crystal walls. The men walked past her, smiling emptily. Their eyes calm but lifeless. She wanted to scream, to shake them awake. But she did not dare. Instead, she followed the alien women. They walked in groups, their voices like whispers of wind. Leanne hid behind tall plants, listening. What she heard froze her blood. The alien women were speaking about their mission. They were not here to destroy humanity. They were here to change it. Our world has died, one alien said, her voice echoing in Leanne's mind. Our men are gone, our wombs are weak, but human men are strong. They will rebuild our future, another answered. Their women will resist, but we will not let them. They will fade. They are not needed. The words were calm, but behind them was a dark plan. The paradise was not for kindness. It was for breeding and control. Leanne's hand shook as she realized the truth. The alien women wanted human men not as partners, but as tools. They were making a new race, a mix of alien and human, a race where men would live forever in chains of joy, and women would be erased piece by piece until none remained. She ran deeper into the towers, desperate to find proof. At last, she found a chamber glowing with soft blue light. Inside were hundreds of glass pods. Each pod held a man floating in strange liquid. Their bodies looked stronger, younger, more perfect, but their eyes were closed, and wires ran into their heads. On the walls, alien symbols glowed with life. Leanne could not read them, but she understood. This was not paradise. This was a factory. She tried to record it with her device. This time it did not turn to ash, but the screen shook with static. Still, she kept recording, whispering into it. If anyone hears this, know the truth. They are building a future without us. Her heart pounded as she turned to leave. But then the room filled with light. The alien guards had found her. They did not run, they did not shout. They only stepped forward with calm faces. One of them spoke into her mind. You should not have come, woman. This place is not for you. Leanne raised the device and screamed. The world will know, the truth will not die with me. The guards moved. Faster than wind, she turned and ran, the recording still in her hand. Through towers, through gardens, through endless glowing streets, the alien women followed, their steps soft but unstoppable. At last, she reached the sewer line again. She threw herself into the cold water, clutching the device behind her. The glowing wall shook, but she forced herself through. Gasping into the night air, the silent hands pulled her out. She lay on the ground, shaking. Her skin burned from the wall, but in her hand was proof. The video of the pods, the men, the factory. The truth the world could no longer ignore. Yet even as she smiled in relief, a shadow fell across the group. Above them, an alien ship moved closer, its light searching the ground. The aliens knew what she had stolen, and they would not rest until it was taken back. The night sky burned with the light of alien ships. They hovered over cities like silver moons, silent but heavy. Every human heart felt their weight. Every street carried fear, but in the shadows, something else was rising. Leanne's recording spread through secret channels. Women whispered the truth to each other. They passed it on slips of paper, scratched into walls, whispered into broken radios. The proof was clear now. The paradise was not paradise. It was a prison, a factory, a cage of light, and inside men were being changed. For the first time since the arrival, hope began to move like fire. The silent hands grew larger. More women joined, carrying anger in their eyes. Even some men who had escaped before the walls closed joined them. They said, "We will not be taken. We will not be controlled." It was the beginning of true resistance. The aliens sensed this. Ships patrolled more often, their lights cutting through the night. Any group of women standing together was quickly scattered by glowing blasts, but the silent hands did not stop. They moved underground into tunnels and ruins. They trained with old weapons, knives, and stolen rifles. They built bombs from scrap metal. They learned to move like shadows. Leon became a symbol. Her story was told again and again, the woman who saw the truth. The woman who escaped the paradise. She carried the device everywhere. Hiding it in different places each night, it was more than proof. It was hope in a small black box. One evening, the silent hands made their first attack. They crept through the ruins of an old city where a glowing tower rose. This tower was not for homes or gardens. It was a power source feeding the illusion of paradise. If it fell, the walls might weaken. Leanne watched as the women planted explosives at its base. Her heart pounded like thunder. Every second felt like a lifetime. The night broke with fire. The tower exploded into a storm of light. The ground shook. Walls of glowing energy flickered. For the first time, cracks appeared in the paradise. Through the cracks, human eyes saw the truth. The shining towers turned into cages of steel, the gardens into laboratories, the fountains into machines of wires and blood. Men inside were not laughing, they were trapped in pods, their faces pale and still. The world outside gasped. Women fell to their knees, whispering, "It was all a lie." Men who had begged to enter before now cried in terror. The aliens tried to cover the truth. They poured energy into the walls, repairing the illusion, but the damage was done. The mask had been broken, and humans had seen behind it that night. The silent hands spread across the cities. They painted symbols on walls, a broken chain, a burning sun, the sign of resistance everywhere. People began to whisper, "We are not alone. We can fight." But the aliens struck back with fury. They sent their guards into the streets, moving like silent shadows. Any woman caught spreading the symbol was dragged into the ships. Some never returned. Others came back with empty eyes, their voices repeating alien words. Fear returned like a storm, but resistance burned stronger. Among the men inside the paradise, something began to stir. The cracks in the walls had broken their dreams. Some remembered their families, their homes, their names. One whispered, "I am not free. I am trapped." Another shouted, "This is not joy. This is a lie." The aliens silenced them quickly, but once a spark is lit, it does not die. Leanne knew the fight was only beginning. She told the silent hands, "The aliens will try to erase the truth. We must act faster, we must spread it wider," they agreed. They sent messengers to distant towns. They built radios from scraps. They spread the video to anyone who would see. Every new person who learned the truth became a soldier in spirit. Then came the darkest night. The aliens unleashed a new weapon. A storm of light falling from the sky. It did not kill, it erased. People caught in it forgot everything. Who they were, where they lived, what they loved. They walked into the alien zones willingly, smiling with dead eyes. The resistance called it the reign of forgetting. But even this did not end the fight. The silent hands grew smarter. They learned to move only underground during the storms. They wore helmets made of metal to block the strange waves. Every attack by the aliens only made the resistance harder, sharper, more united. At last, the silent hands decided on a greater mission, not only to break the walls, but to reach the heart of the enemy, the alien mothership. Leanne looked at its dark shadow floating above the clouds. Her heart burned with fear and fire. "That is where the truth is," she whispered. "That is where their secret lives." The others nodded. It was madness, it was danger, but it was the only way. If they could reach the mothership, they could end the prison forever. That night, under the cover of smoke and silence, the resistance made their plan. The war of shadows was turning into the war of truth. And humanity, once silent, was beginning to roar again. The night of the broken tower had changed everything. The illusion of paradise was no longer perfect. Men had seen the cracks, women had seen the truth. The aliens could repair the glowing walls, but they could not repair human doubt. And doubt, once born, grew like fire. The silent hands grew bolder. They struck power stations, destroyed supply routes, and spread the truth across every city. They painted the symbol of the broken chain on walls. They whispered into radios. They said, "Paradise is a prison. Do not believe the lies." And for the first time, even men inside began to resist. Some of the men remembered their families. They remembered their children, their homes, their work. At first the memories came like soft whispers. But then they grew louder. breaking through the alien control. A man shouted inside the glowing towers, "I am not your tool. I am human." Another broke the program by refusing to repeat the words. The alien guards punished them, but the spark had spread. Outside, the world shook with fear and anger. Alien ships now patrolled every sky. They unleashed the rain of forgetting again and again. Cities filled with men and women walking like sleepwalkers, their eyes empty. But resistance fighters learned new tricks. They built helmets from scrap metal. They covered homes with foil. They shielded themselves from the forgetting storm. The aliens grew frustrated for the first time. Their calm faces cracked. The silent hands knew they had to strike harder. Leon gathered the leaders in an underground chamber lit by candles. She said, "We cannot fight forever in the shadows. The truth is too big now, we must take it to the world." She lifted the device with the recording. "We will show every human what I saw. Every pod, every cage, every lie," the leaders agreed. Even though their voices shook with fear, the plan was dangerous. They would hijack the alien signal itself. The same signal that once delivered control would now deliver truth. The night came. The resistance carried stolen wires, broken computers, and hacked machines. They climbed to the top of a ruined tower where alien energy hummed. The wind howled. The city below glowed with alien walls. Leon's hand shook as she connected the device. The video of the pods, the factory, the men in liquid cages lit the screens. For a moment, the whole world went still. Every city, every home, every human saw the truth. Cries rose from every corner of Earth. Men shouted, "They lied to us," women screamed. "They are killing our families." The truth could not be hidden again. The war had fully begun. The aliens struck back with rage. Ships rained fire into the skies. Energy blasts tore through buildings. Cities burned with blue flame, but the humans did not run. They fought, old rifles fired. Bombs exploded under alien towers. Even children threw stones at glowing walls. The world had woken, and it refused to sleep again. Inside the paradise zones, men who remembered broke their chains. They smashed the walls of their cages with fists stronger than they knew. They tore wires from their heads and shouted to others,
"Wake up, you are human, fight!" The alien women moved quickly.
But they were not prepared for chaos from within. For every man they silenced, two more remembered. The paradise became a battlefield. Leanne moved through the ruins, leading groups of fighters. Her voice was strong. She said, "Do not stop. The mothership is the key. All their power comes from above." She pointed to the giant shadow in the clouds. The mothership hovered like a second moon. Its dark belly pulsed with energy. Inside it, the heart of the alien plan was hidden. The resistance built weapons from alien scrap. They turned broken energy crystals into bombs. They strapped explosives onto stolen drones. Every attack pushed them closer. But the aliens grew crueler. They captured whole towns, draining memories from every person. They filled ships with prisoners and carried them away. The silent hands swore they would not stop until every cage was broken. The world was divided now, half in chains, half in fire. Some men still begged for the false paradise. They cried, "Let us go back. We do not care if it is a lie." Others chose truth even if it meant death. It was no longer just war for survival. It was war for the soul of humanity. At last the resistance saw their chance. A power core on the edge of the city pulsed with alien light. It connected directly to the mothership. If it was destroyed, the ship would weaken. Leon led the charge through gunfire, through storms of light, through the cries of battle. They planted bombs at its base. She whispered, "For every man in a cage, for every woman erased, for Earth itself." The explosion lit the sky like a new sun. The mothership shook, its shadow trembling for the first time. The great ship of the aliens roared with pain. The humans cheered, the aliens fell back, but Leon knew this was only the beginning. The mothership was wounded, not destroyed, and what it held inside was still a secret waiting to be revealed. The War of Shadows had become the War of Truth. And now truth demanded the final battle. The mothership shook in the sky like a wounded beast. The explosion from the human attack burned through its dark belly. For the first time, the alien women looked afraid. Their calm faces cracked with worry. Their glowing eyes flickered. Earth had struck a wound that could not be hidden, but the war was far from over. Alien ships still ruled the skies, their weapons burning cities. Men inside the paradise still struggled to break free. Women on the ground still carried bombs and rifles made from scrap. Every street echoed with battle, with cries of rage and hope. The war of truth had become a storm. Leon stood on a broken rooftop staring at the great ship above. Her heart pounded like thunder. She whispered, "That is where it ends. Inside that ship lies their secret and our future." The silent hands gathered around her, their faces dirty, their eyes shining. They nodded without fear. They knew the next step was madness. They would enter the mothership itself. A stolen alien craft carried them upward. It shook under their hands, its controls alive with strange lights. The city below faded into smoke and fire. The sky grew darker as they rose into the shadow of the mothership. It was vast, like a floating continent. Its surface pulsed with blue veins of energy. Alive like skin, a door opened in silence. Pulling them inside, the halls of the ship were endless. Walls of crystal and steel, glowing with symbols that moved like water. The air hummed with strange power. Every step they took echoed like a drum. Men floated in pods along the walls. Connected by wires, their eyes closed, their bodies perfect. Leon's fists clenched as she whispered, "They are not prisoners. They are harvest." At the heart of the ship, the truth waited. The resistance entered a great chamber glowing with red light. Inside, a towering figure stood. She was taller than the other alien women, her body shining like silver fire. Her voice entered their minds at once. "You should not be here. This war should not exist. We came not to destroy but to survive." Leon raised her weapon, but the figure lifted her hand. The walls of the chamber shifted, showing visions of another world, a planet broken and burned. Seas turned to dust, skies black with storms. "This was our home," the alien leader said. "Our men died, our children faded. We came to Earth because your men are strong. Your blood carries life. With them we can live again." The silent hands stared in shock. They had expected lies, but the pain in the alien's voice felt real. Leon's heart twisted. If the aliens spoke truth, then their invasion was not only conquest, it was desperation. But desperation built on chains, built on prisons, built on stolen freedom. She shouted, "You took our families, you erased our people. You made cages and called them paradise." The alien leader's eyes glowed brighter. "We gave your men a life without pain, without death. Is that not mercy?" Leon's voice cut back like fire. "Without freedom there is no mercy, without choice there is no life." The chamber shook as alarms rang through the ship. The mothership was weakening. Human attacks outside had grown fiercer. The alien leader stepped closer, her voice a storm in their minds. "Then choose, human. Destroy us and let our kind die forever, or join us and create a new race where your men live as kings." While women fade into history, the resistance froze. It was the final choice. If they destroyed the ship, the alien women might vanish forever. But men inside the pods would also die if they joined. Humanity would survive, but only half of it. The rest would be erased. Leon's heart broke under the weight of it. She looked at the pods, at the men inside, at their faces calm in sleep. She looked at her sisters, bruised and bloody, standing ready with weapons, and she looked at the alien leader. Eyes burning with both rage and sorrow, she whispered, "There must be another way." But the alien shook her head. "No other way, only choice." The silence was heavy. The chamber pulsed with the heartbeat of the ship. Every second was a blade cutting deeper. At last, Leon raised the device in her hand. Not a weapon, but the recording. "The proof, the truth," she shouted into the air. "The world will choose, not you, not me." She connected the device to the ship's core. The recording spread through the alien network. Every human on Earth saw the choice, every man, every woman, every child. They saw the aliens' dying planet. They saw the cages, they saw the paradise. And they heard the question, save them or end them. The Earth roared with voices. Some shouted, "Save them. They are desperate." Others screamed, "End them. They are monsters." The noise shook the skies. The mothership trembled under the weight of human choice. In the end, one sound rose above all others. Not a cry of hate, not a cry of mercy, but a cry of unity. "We are human. We will decide together." The mothership's core burned with light, the walls cracked, the pods shattered. The alien leader screamed, not in anger but in sorrow. The ship broke apart above the world, pieces of light falling like dying stars. When the smoke cleared, silence returned. The paradise walls had vanished, the cages were gone. Men stumbled free, weak but alive. The alien women were gone, vanished like dust in the wind. Only the memory of them remained. And the question they left behind, Leon stood among the ruins. Her voice soft but strong. They came with chains, but they came with pain too. They wanted life, but they stole ours. She raised her eyes to the broken sky. Now it is our turn to rebuild, and this time, no one will take our choice again.